I'm Yair, your host. And today I have a very special guest. It's actually someone that I've been working with in the last 10 months, I think. After one of our clients at work highly recommended him as an excellent marketer. And since then, we've been working together regularly on all kinds of projects, and it's been great collaborating with him. Now, I've been wanting to bring him to the podcast to share his knowledge and insights since I had the idea of having a podcast. And that's because he has a lot of experience across different areas of marketing. And in fact, this will be the first out of several episodes we will record together. Each one will focus on a different area. And for today's conversation, we are starting with something every marketer has dealt with at some point, maybe more, maybe less, but we all know it. We had successes, we had failures. We're going to talk about sponsored promotion on Meta. Will, how are you?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. Good to have you.
Happy to be here. Excited about to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. It's an interesting project. The first episode was released a week ago, and I had great feedback for a first episode, and I'm really excited to see how it goes now. I love starting this type of content, this type of podcast, with you introducing yourself, explaining who you are, so people will see that. As I said before we started it, to show that you are legit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, my name's Will Blake. I got started in the e-commerce space around 10 years ago, primarily working for a direct-to-consumer seafood brand. And from that, kind of spun off a digital marketing agency. My initial focus was primarily in paid media buying, from Google Ads to Meta. And started working with a number of clients in every industry, from books to fashion to majority of it is still food, which has really been my bread and butter through the years, but love every aspect of working with businesses, watching them grow, helping them grow, and learning more about different industries. So it's really been a rewarding experience thus far.
Yeah, one of the things I love seeing every time I go on a call with Will, the background that you see at the moment, it's not the usual background he has. He has like pictures of different types of fish and dishes of fish. I love it.
Yeah, it's the background at Sizzlefish. It gets everyone on the calls. They always notice the shrimp or the catfish in the background. I figured I'd give it a change up for today's episode.
Yeah, I know it's part of your branding, I think. Now, I want us to diving in and talking about what we said we're going to talk today. And that's when people start talking about creating ads on Meta. There are a lot of approaches. There are a lot of ways to do it. People will say million different opinions, but I would love to hear your opinions. What are like the foundation that needs to be in place? How do you know if you're actually ready to start promoting on Meta, on Facebook or Instagram?
So I get, for one, I work with a wide range of businesses, primarily small and medium. And with the small businesses, what I typically find is that oftentimes they're struggling in terms of content. And to answer your question, the number one thing I think on Meta particularly that is the key to success is strong content. It used to be years ago, before Apple released all these privacy changes, that you could target people who would be interested in your service, put together an image, kind of pitching your service with some type of offer, and run it. And you could very specifically target those groups of people. And people had a lot of success back then. These days, as more and more people are advertising on the platform and some of the privacy changes have changed how their algorithm works, content should be your leading form of targeting. Good content, good results. And so I don't know that there's a one size fits all strategy for any one brand, but if you don't have good content, you are not going to see good results.
When you're talking about good content, you mean like the ads or the content that you publish as an organic post and you see it's going well and you try to advertise it, that you
So I
promote it?
think it applies to both. Most of my experience has been on the paid side and less so with organic management, but I've seen too many times where people want to just run with ads that they've put together. It's in a few minutes. And really, if you're going to invest time in advertising your business online through paid ads, invest in the quality of the creative, to invest in the good video or good images. Spend time thinking about what the consumer wants from your brand or your business, and try to understand that through your creative, through your images, through your video, through the content you're putting out there.
I completely agree. I know that as a marketer, there are a lot of approaches, and my approach is a bit different than yours because I prefer organic efforts and not the paid ones. I had more success in it, but I totally understand the importance of it. And if you know how to use it as a tool and you know how to choose the right content, for example, us, a few months ago, we did a few ads on Facebook and on Instagram for a webinar that we did for my work. And the results were amazing. The amount of people who signed up, the amount of people who actually joined. We had a few clients who actually became like watchers of the webinar, like that actually became clients, and it was amazing. But I think that using it as a tool, it's important to know how to use it. And there are a lot of people online, professionals so-called, that say that they know how to do it, but unfortunately I had also a few bad experiences in the past, and you need to choose the person you work with wisely, because mistakes there can be very costly on both ends. Like, it can cost you a lot and you will fail, or it will cost you a lot and you succeed, but both ends it will cost you a lot. It's not something that you can just try and let it go. You need to be on it regularly, like daily.
Certainly, I totally agree with that sentiment. It's just retainers and paying someone to manage these things for you aside. When you start getting into the paid world, it's very easy to light ten, $15,000 fire just on poorly placed and irrelevant advertising efforts. It needs to be something you're consistently watching and paying attention to make sure you're getting the results you're after. I mean, on the flip side of that, though, I've seen into a lot of ad accounts at this point, and I also see the flip side of that happen, where you want to test so much at once, or you want to try so many different things within an ad account, and the effect of that can be detrimental. You want to, on one hand, keep a close eye on things and make sure they're running effectively, but you want to give things a fair chance on the platform to perform. It needs to be able to pick up signals from the audience to learn who the target audience is. And some people will turn it on first few days, they don't see any results, and it's like, well, you really need to stick with it, give it some time, and make sure you're actually not seeing results. Certain businesses, you've got purchase journeys that vary anywhere from impulse knickknack buys to $1,000 purchases that require a long consideration period. So see that as well. Just wanted to comment.
I know, totally. It's different if you're trying to promote buying a shirt than if you are promoting an insurance company.
Totally. Totally.
It, it's completely different when it comes to like the ads, the actual copy, like what you write, the costs. It's something that I had only experiences in the long term, like success, not easy wins that you can wake up every day and see that you have 50 or 100 or 1,000 people who bought your product. But I feel that this world is intriguing to me because it's much more exciting when it comes to the short-term success, like things that you promote, and the day after you can already start feeling if it's working or not. Am I correct? Or
Yes, certainly. The meta is so weird to me because on no one account behaves the same. I have accounts that can get away with spending tens of thousands a day on just dynamic catalog ads, where then I have others where it's a long purchase journey. You've got to build awareness, you've got to get them into your email funnel, you've got to continue to re-engage that customer for a much longer period of time. And when you have these long purchase journeys, where it becomes a lot more difficult to determine where your lift's coming from, where you're truly making an impact, because it's all these channels, they work together. It's not just paid ads or your email or any one thing that's necessarily the driving factor for those customers or those or clients or whatever it may be. So with the short terms, I would definitely the short term impulse buys are certainly easier to get some instant gratification. But on the flip side of that, the longer purchase journey type sales are they're more of a puzzle, and they're fun to figure out and pull on the levers and to kind of discover what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, it's like a mind game, I believe. That's what I feel every time that I'm thinking about doing a promotion like a paid promotion, even on Google or on Meta platform. What are the biggest mistakes that you see that people are when you have a new client or even an existing one, the things that you hear all the time, the same mistakes that repeat themselves, and you wanna like say now, listen, that you should change your mindset because it's wrong.
There's a few I frequently see. I deal with a lot of products, but one is that the duplicate or incorrect like pixel setups, you need to be able to track your sales. Won't spend too much time on that. The other is poor content. We touched on that a little bit earlier, or just not properly testing your content. You need to always be working to improve it. Cannot hammer that enough. The other we'd also spoken about briefly, but it is the over optimization, the trying too many things at once, having 50 ads in a single ad set with a $5 a day budget. There are strategies for allowing Meta to go out and select what it wants to serve, but ultimately you need to give your content a fair chance to serve. So what I have found in recent years to be oftentimes true for most small, medium businesses is that a simple account is often better than a complicated account. Anymore, broad targeting, I see it beat out interest based, demographic based targeting 9 times out of 10. And yet I get into accounts and I see people with all of these interest based or lookalike or demographic based ad sets they're trying to test out, when in reality they should be focusing on their creative and letting Meta decide who their target audience is. I had one just this week where they were saying, well, we know that most of our customers are this specific gender, and it was male in their case, and so why not target those people? And I said, well, for one, go look at this broad ad set and let's look at who it actually served to. And sure enough, it was already serving to their target demographic based on
Ugh.
their content and creative. What I see happen a lot of the times when you get so specific is, one, people leave Advantage Plus enabled, meaning Meta's really just going to decide who it wants to target to after your suggestion, or that the CPM is more expensive when you give it more and more parameters to restrict delivery to. So see that a lot. I see the improper targeting setups. On some brands, they Meta over attributes. Like I'll come in and a lot of the times they'll have an agency, they'll have some KPIs they've laid out with the agency handling their Meta or whatever platform it may be. And they're relying solely on platform analytics, meaning what Meta is reporting. Meta loves to give itself credit, loves to pat itself on the back. They all do. They want your money. And that's how they have realized that we can show good results. They'll spend more. The reality is that a lot of the times ads in any type of format will serve to existing customer bases. See this more in larger, more established brands, but it'll over-report your return on ad spend or your under-report your cost per acquisition. And so you're spending all this money when in reality, a lot of that base is just customers that were seeing your ads that would have probably purchased through some other channel to begin with. So to sum that up, I really like third-party attribution when you're spending anything north of like 10K a month in ads. It gives you kind of a universal source of truth without trusting a Google Analytics or a Meta ad reporting. Lets you kind of switch to say, hey, did this customer discover me on this platform, or did they just click here last? And so having insights into that data as you try to scale a brand is really important. Something that I think some people take for granted.
And how do you recommend that people will actually do it? The comparison between what is Meta saying that is success, like over promoting themselves, and like the actual number, like to find the average between those. What platforms do you use? And you recommend that others will try it? as well?
There's a slew of great third-party attribution platforms out there. Northbeam, I use Triple Whale working with a lot of Shopify brands. It plugs in nicely. It gives you a daily snapshot of what you're spending relative to your revenue, which is it's a super important metric. And then there's a ton of startups out there. I mean, but even for brands at a smaller budget, you can do these kind of calculations by hand. If you're just keeping up with your daily revenue relative to your ad spend, it's something you want to keep a close eye on, even if it means just exporting your information to a spreadsheet. An easy way for smaller brands to kind of keep up with this without any kind of tools or platform is to actually attach some parameters when you're setting up an ad on Meta or on Google. There's a little box on most of these URL parameters, tracking parameters. Fill those in with the name of the campaign you're running so that you know if someone fills out a lead form, you know that they clicked in from that ad and filled it out rather than just trusting the platform to tell you itself.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I always feel that there are more platforms as well that they try to over promote themselves. So I'm happy that we talked about it. It wasn't one of my questions, but it's very, very important to say it out loud so people actually know it. I'm sure that even experienced like marketers that in-house, they maybe sometimes don't think about it, and it's very important to understand. Now, when it comes to you talked before about letting Meta do his thing and not trying to over like deep down targeting and letting it like the AI of Meta work. What do you think about that? Like I heard in a few podcasts and read about it and saw YouTube videos that the Meta algorithm is changing like all the time, like all the algorithms that change all the time. But here the optimization that if you just let them do their thing, it can be really, really good. What do you think about that?
So for what I personally feel about it is I hate the control, like both of them, Google and Meta do it where they're taking back more and more control every year, taking control away from the marketer to make decisions every year. And personally, it irks me having been doing this for 10 years. I miss the days of on Google, exact match keywords or on Meta, giving a super specific audience and learning about the audience. But as a whole going forward, it is kind of becoming more and more the way to run an account. There's always exceptions, but there is some truth to that. For one, your engagement on post. If you're at small budgets, if you have all of these different tests going on and you're trying to hyper segment your ads or your ad targeting, correct me. What happens is you've got all these different post IDs not garnering engagement, comments, social proof. Whereas if you had one ad that had these comments under it that legitimize it, that adds a layer of legitimacy to the ad, you don't get that benefit. The way I always kind of describe the algorithm, how I believe that it works is, and I'm honestly pretty certain, is that when you give an ad a fair chance, what it's going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to serve to a pocket of individuals. And based on the response of those individuals, if they comment, if they like, if it's a video, what percent of the video they watch, how many times it loops, if they click the link, what they did after clicking the link, all kind of feeds into the machine learning algorithm to serve to similar people who will take those actions and what it deems similar content, similar sites, similar advertisers. It's similar to kind of how TikTok's algorithm works, and that if you watch a lot of video about one topic, you're going to see more videos about that topic, except applied in reverse. The algorithm has data on the people on the platform, and it then serves it to similar people. So if you serve content about, let's say, I'm trying to pick does your boat need blank? It's people without a boat. If the video is starting off talking about a boat, probably aren't going to stick around too long. But anyone with a boat might stick around to watch a certain percent of that video. So it's going to know, and it's going to serve to similar people. We don't have that data as marketers. We have an idea of what those people are, and we can try to specify that through demos, through look similar audiences. But what happens is when you suggest, and particularly when you force it into only interests, it's trained on a smaller pool of people. which in turn can increase your cost per thousand people reached. And it's not going to have a complete enough data set to then feed all the points that it needs to in its machine learning algorithm to go out and serve to similar people. So by restricting it's kind of counterintuitive is the way it was explained to me by Meta, and what I have seen to be true on some of the accounts I manage with really large ad spend. Even brands I advertise for with really niche and like really niche audiences. I think I had one in the finance space that they were targeting accredited investors only, which has some really strict criteria to be eligible for. And testing beside people interests like real estate, lookalike audiences, even broad targeting tended to show a cheaper cost per lead. And there was some qualified leads that went on to sign up for the service from the broad campaign. So it is a really strong algorithm. I hate that it's become such a black box, but that's really where all of them are pushing it.
So you would have preferred that it will be like the old way?
That might be a little bit of nostalgia, but I do miss some of the old way. Meta to me isn't quite as bad. There's definitely some fun things you can do still, but Google's Performance Max and trying to cram all their new products down your throat that one irks me a little more, to be quite frank.
Yeah. No, for me, I know my strengths as a marketer and I know my weaknesses as a marketer. I know that the world of paid media on Google and on Meta are not my strongest. This is why I always recommend and I always try to work with someone that is a professional. And there are other things that I know that I love and I know how to do. That's the time that I start doing it myself. For example, if I want to start a YouTube channel for a business, so I will probably know how to do it myself. Yeah, I will have people that help me, but the main core will be my work. So it's interesting. You are basically saying that if you are trying to compare apples to oranges, so the paid media and the organic traffic, both of them start their journey more or less the same, trying to show the ad or the piece of content to a certain amount of people. And then basically what happens is that if it's succeeding on the organic, then it shows it to more people. If it's not, then it will just stop. And on the paid media, they need to work harder. So they will try to find more audiences that, okay, if this is not working, so we'll try this one. Or if this is not working, we'll try this one.
So I definitely think there's some similarities based on kind of where you're starting from. There is, if you don't have good content, ultimately, you're not going to really attract your audience. I mean, I think that's true on organic. I think it's true on paid. A lot of the brands I work with, when they have a strong existing organic library, it plays well into leveraging that content to either edit into a more conducive to paid format or to just use out of the gate in kind of a paid placement. Top performing, to give an example of this, taking TikTok, for example, I have a client with a really large TikTok shop. And all of this is with TikTok shop, there is a ton of organic video. It is a little more sales focused, but you'll have hundreds of creators for one seller making a video about a product. And the products that do well organically, we will export them and use in our other, like we'll use it in Instagram Reels, we'll use it in Facebook Reels, we'll use it on Meta's platform because it's the underlying qualities that make it successful remain true. Sometimes we'll have them re-record the ending or the opening hook to be more conducive to Meta, but the fundamentals are still there. If it's engaging content, it's going to perform.
Interesting. So you were saying that TikTok Shop, besides the fact that it's a great platform to sell by itself, you actually use it as like a testing ground and to see if something is working well when it comes to the content and the actual video. And then if it works well, you use it on other platforms.
Absolutely. It's a great machine for churning out organic content. What we'll do is we'll reach out to the creator and we'll offer them like a small fixed payment for usage rights. As you've got to, you don't want to just take something from a creator they've made on a platform where they're getting commissions for any sales or for working with the brand. So you have to reach out to them and say, hey, we love your video, we'd like to use it. But it's usually one more inexpensive to go that route for a lot of brands. As the content's created, they don't mind having a little extra money, and also it's made at a scale that is difficult to facilitate for a lot of brands on other platforms. They've got the marketplace, and so it's a great testing grounds to bring into paid media. And love, you can get hundreds of videos made relatively inexpensive and tested, and the ones that do well on TikTok generally do well on Meta.
The UGC world is very interesting. Like I heard about it a few years ago already, and I had experience with it. And someone told me, and I heard it from a few sources that it's going down, but I don't feel it. I see it all the time, and it's, I think, a great way of doing it in an authentic way. There are some videos that I feel that the UGC, like the actual person that created the content, is not relevant at all to the product that they are trying to sell. So sometimes I'm like a bit like, what's going on? But some cases it's like right fit, and I believe that it works really well for them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You could do a whole other episode on that platform.
We will. I told you in the beginning, and I told everyone, we are gonna meet in the journey, the journey of the podcast. We're gonna see Will in a few occasions because again, he has a lot of knowledge. Now, my next question is, what is the right approach? We talked about how to start the campaign and what your recommendations are, but after you have a campaign for a while and you see that it's working well, how do you keep like squeezing the lemon in a way that it will not end, or like let try to use it for longer? Because I know that there are ads and there are companies that have one successful video and they just use the same one for a year or two without any issues. What do
So
you
that's a really great question, as it's really different from brand to brand to brand. I'm quickly figuring out more and more every day. I have brands that can do just that. For example, for Sizzlefish, I'll use them as an example. Every year around April, when soft shell crab season opens, we can start running a very similar ad every year for soft shell crabs. And it's by far and away outperforms anything else, outperforms Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the run up to Christmas on that one platform. And it works for months on end. People loved it to soft shell crabs. And I don't know if it's a product specific thing or the video. I begin to suspect more that it's that one product. People just engage with it well on the platform and it converts well. Then on the flip side of things, I've got brands that I work with that you'll create an ad and you'll roll it out, and starts off fantastic. And then within a week or two, it's like you're making less in revenue off of it than you're spending, and you've got to turn it off. I don't think there is a one size fits all answer to how long do you let things run? How do you decide when it has been running long enough, other than to monitor if it's for a specific product? Look at the product sales, how much it spiked, spend enough that you can actually measure the lift on that product, or be able to trust your analytics to say, hey, this is what the lift we created. And when that lift starts to die off, you can do one of two things. You can either turn off the campaign, or you can try to come out with some fresh content just to keep it running. Generally, what will happen is either the fresh content will give you a nice kick. You'll hop back up for a little while and continue to be able to run ads on that. But sometimes it's easier when you've got brands with a fair amount of products to shift between. Sometimes people will get beat down, but on brands with let's say a service where you can't just rotate your product, try tweaking your landing page to appeal to a different subset of people. it becomes a bit more work at this point when you go in and have to start making landing page edits. But I mean, in the past year, 1 or 2 years, there's been a ton of great apps out there like Replit and Lovable where you can quickly re-optimize your landing page, give it a new feel, call out new features on it, or try running different offers without having to have an on-staff or an on-hand developer there to make the changes for you. So we're able to be a little bit more nimble these days. But then I've got brands who've been running dynamic catalog as their top performing creative, beats everything out no matter how much creative testing we've run for years. And it just is pretty stable. But every brand is so different that there isn't a one size fits all. But react to changes in performance is kind of the too long didn't read there is make changes when your performance declines or when you're not seeing the results you're after.
Yeah, it's interesting that you are talking about dynamic catalog because there is, while I'm telling this funny and weird story, I would love you to think if you also have something like that. But I've been looking for a butcher, I don't know when, a few months ago maybe. And of course, the algorithm tagged me as someone who wants to find a butcher. And there is one brand that keeps showing me the catalog of types of meat. And the pictures are so, first of all, bad quality. And second of all, so unappealing. Like when you see it, you want to become a vegan, and it gets to a point then where they keep showing me the same ads. And I'm like, okay, at the beginning, I thought that it's maybe a mistake. They uploaded the images as something, made them look bad. I don't know what, but after I'm sure that I've been seeing the same ads for 2 or 3 months already, and I just keep it just out of curiosity. Like I don't press on it and say I'm not interested, because I'm just curious to see when will it end? It's like, is it like actually like those images and that quality, is it like really profitable? Because it doesn't make sense at all. Afterwards I will send you images. I can't publish them because of copyright stuff, but like I will send it to you because it's so weird.
So one of my single largest spending account, they spend, I would say 80-90% of their budget on catalog. And prior to working with them, I had a strong aversion. I hated catalog. I think they're just that. They're boring. The images, if you have a good catalog with good product images, that fit into the placement, like white backgrounds, great. But at the end of the day, it's like, how could this possibly be better than what we're able to put together with a designer, with a good video editor, with a good script? And for most brands, yes, your creative is going to, you would think it would win out. But this one particular brand, they had a really large catalog and with thousands of SKUs. And we would highlight the top sellers. We would focus on collections. We would focus on the service as a whole, because it's all books. And so we would focus on like the utility. And so we would try created ads, meaning images, videos for different scenarios. And every time these catalog ads would win out. And it's like, how is this possible? This is boring. These are just like, why are people spending on, why are these catalog ads winning out over this creative we've slaved over and come up with iterations on? Well, my theory is, one, that just because you see it in one particular placement, meaning if you're scrolling on Facebook, does not mean that's how it's going to appear in every placement. Two, they have a really good retargeting component to it. And so like it's good for people who visited your site about zeroing in on the products they may have looked at, but that doesn't explain how you could spend that much of your budget on of your total ad spend budget on those types of ads with success. So my leading theory that I have kind of come up with is that for accounts with large catalogs, it works well at identifying the product that is set at the right price point, that has the right product imagery, that has the best landing page relative to what people on Meta expect seeing it. And so, like, just using the soft shell crab example from Sizzlefish, it's that one ad, outperforms every other product in our catalog by quite a lot. But do you know what the number one serving product in the small amount we put towards catalog ads? It is the number one product by impressions as soft shell crabs. So you can use catalog as kind of a way to identify your top performing genders, your top performing products, your top performing kind of where it gravitates towards, can signal products to focus on. So the strategy with the book company was we looked at their top served products in the catalog, and we would develop content for those specific products, as Meta was kind of signaling to us, hey, these are worth my time. So yes, some brands are just going to get lucky and have it easy and be able to serve catalog ads and see a positive, profitable return. But for a lot of brands, it's not that easy. And you can use them as a tool for retargeting and for identifying demographics, features that are interested in your brand as a whole, and products you might want to focus on first.
Yeah, no, it's another example of what you said before. There's no one size fits all. It's a game of trial and error, and maybe it will be very good for your competitor, but for some reason, the gods of the algorithm, like, you would not know, and it will not work well for you. Now, you talked about something before that I want us to come back and talk about it again. And I want to talk about the landing pages. Because, of course, this is, you have two options. You have the option of using the generic basic landing page that Meta offers you, which is great in some occasions. But if you want to have more customization, you can use your own landing page. And what are your recommendations? Of course, I'm sure there are many, but what are the first ones that come in mind when it comes to recommending and the changes now and then? Because I know that when we did the webinar, the landing page that you created, it was with, if you can remind me which platform it was,
Use
but it was
Replit for
very,
that one.
Huh?
Used Replit, was just an AI tool that could quickly whip something together and allow me to quickly control without having to write a bunch of CSS or having to format things. It just sped up the time to put together a landing page and change things on it.
So first of all the links of what we talked about in this episode will be below, so you don't need to go back and try to listen again. But but the second thing is, like, really, what are your recommendations when it comes to landing pages now?
I'm a huge fan of always trying to use a landing page. You're welcome if you start trying things. I'm also a proponent of, like, get off the ground, get some data, see what's working, see what's not working. If you can get a strong return on your advertising spend without having a custom landing page, you're in a great spot. But if you turn it on and you're not seeing the results you want, landing pages to me kind of fall under the content category. If you're not giving people a good experience, a good content for them to see, then you're going to have poor results. So on Meta, kind of general rule of thumb is to try to match what the user sees on the landing page to what they saw in the ad. If they're expecting an offer, if you talk about an offer in a video, if you talk about an offer in an image, if you have a code they've got to use, you better have a landing page that reflects it. You need and make it as clear as possible. If it's Google or Meta, the things you want them to do on that landing page. If you want to build the page around as few possible things they can do other than the action. You want to give selling features. You want to give points, or really selling points about the product or service on that landing page. Don't just slop it together, or you're going to have not so great results. But if you can quickly, with images, with easy to absorb information, communicate what you're trying to say there, a lot of times I'll lop off the header navigation or the footer navigation, keep them restricted to the landing page so that it's dumbed down a little bit, so there's not as many things to choose from and paths to go down. I generally see conversion rates go up. On Google, I'll do Meta first. On Meta, I want to talk a little more about the offer. If you're providing one on Meta, I'll use Sizzle again as an issue we've had in this past year, just to show how important it is. We ran an offer earlier in the year. It's 6 free soft shell crabs when you buy a dozen crabs or more. And if we were to just land them on the generic product page, expecting to remember the code they needed to enter, or the terms of the offer, or why it is a good offer, then more times than not, I would see people just watch the video, no sound, or just come to the page and just not even redeem the offer. They were coming from the ad. I could trace them, but they didn't know how to redeem the offer and they still wanted the product. So they went ahead and bought. So we tested out a landing page there where it showed the in big letters, get 6 free crabs when you order 12 or more. It had in big letters the code you need to use, and an effort was made to automatically apply that code for people we could definitively say came from Meta. And so the whole experience for the user becomes a little bit more streamlined. There's less things they have to click. They see the page they're expecting with the offer they're expecting, and they're kind of funneled through on to the end, meaning end being checkout or purchase.
So there is a fine balance between over delivering information and trying to make it as simple and direct as possible. And I love it when you just make it as easy to understand what are you offering. And that's exactly what you said here. Do you remember the time that Meta had those text limitations on ads and like how much text percentage of the ad
I
can be
do,
shown?
I do. The 20% text limit, I scrapped that
That
one along the way.
was when it comes to the offer and playing with the content and what you are showing and like so many limitations, it was a nightmare. And now I was very happy when they just released it. And this is a very good tip if you're listening to what Will said, like make sure that don't make estimations that people saw your ad and when they go to your landing page, they remember what they wanted because that those few seconds that the loading, they thought about something else and that's it. Like they're gone. You need to make sure that from the beginning, what they see is what you offer and how they redeem the offer and like easy access to the offer. Like just click, like fill your information and that's it.
100%. I can't tell you before rolling that out how many calls we got from people just wanting to figure out how to redeem it. Like, I mean, it's probably been it's hundreds of calls about it, and even now, people still is despite putting it in as bright colors as bold font as I can, people still get confused. So you really have to oversimplify things, particularly when coming from Meta. Someone's searching your product like organically. If they're coming to your page, they're probably a little more familiar with your brand. But someone coming from Meta, it might be the first time they've ever even seen your logo. So
Yeah.
you've got to communicate to them in a very quick format, easy, few seconds, get your point across and ask them what you want to ask them.
Great. I think it's very important information. And guys, listen to it and take notes and think how you can implement it in your landing pages and in your ads because this is the fine tuning that you need to do in order to change a bad ad to a good ad and a good ad to a great ad. And thank you for that. I think that my last question for now, because we packed this episode with a lot of information, we can talk for more and more, and we will do it, as I said already. But my last question, I want us to take a step back from the grind of the ad. I still want us to remain in this role, but I want us to talk about the relationship because it is a relationship between you as the professional and me as the marketer. I feel that this relationship can really make or break the strategy, the efforts of what you're doing. Because if you are working with someone that is a professional, but you are not in good relationship, then it will not work. And I had experiences in the past that we hired the top agency in that field and everyone recommending that to be. And then I just hopped on a call. And from the beginning, I had bad vibes from that person. And he was so arrogant and he didn't really care. Like he used it like what you said here, it did the opposite. Like one size fit all. I know how to do ads. I know how to do, doesn't matter what in the world of marketing. And this is how we're going to do it. I don't care what you sell. I'm just going to do the same way I did with the rest. What do you feel when it comes to starting to work with someone new or someone that you work for a long time already? What are your 2 cents when it comes to that?
So I think I can answer that when I give an anecdote first, just about my own personal experience as opposed to like a a traditional agency. For one, I never went down the traditional agency path. I've always worked brand side until kind of starting my own. And what that allowed me to do that I think was a key part of success for that one brand for Sizzlefish was that I could look at, I was involved in more than just the advertising. I was looking at a P&L. I was looking at the business side of things more so than just the return on just than the revenue generated, than the revenue growth. There was an ability to I had the understanding of the brand's overall economics there, what we needed to be profitable, the understanding of the products. And I think with a lot of traditional advertising agencies, and there's a lot of great ones out there, what you get is maybe client wants to recommend a budget or advertising agency wants to recommend a budget. They might not be as in tune to internal processes or internal economics or the seasonality of an individual item because they do this for so many other people. And I mean, I've struggled with that being true a little bit for other brands I've serviced myself and starting to see it from the other side. But the number one way to overcome that, I think, is to work as closely behind whoever is handling your advertising efforts. Particularly, I mean, on the paid side of things, it's a very large portion of, for some brands, it's a large portion of revenue. And so there needs to be a strong relationship there and education on the marketer's part. And then initiative on the business's part to maintain really healthy communication, to talk about offers, to talk about when we want to push, to understand the seasonality, to understand, because what happens for a lot of brands is they'll have, like, take holidays, for example. A lot of the brands can spend 10 times in December what they spend the rest of the year. And if I didn't have a good relationship with the client, almost like to where they can text me or I can call them and say, "Hey, I'm seeing something I really like. Can we just go crazy with this?" Then that might not happen. Sometimes you hit those periods and they come around once a year and you've got to gun it. A traditional agency might look at it, or someone who's not, I hesitate to say traditional agency, but someone who's doesn't have a great relationship with a brand or a desire to see this one particular brand grow as strong as an internal employee they might not push as hard there. They say, "Oh, we've got our fixed monthly budget. Let's not exceed that." When there's periods where you could press the gas as hard as possible, bring in a lot of new customers, and be set up for success rolling into the next year. So strong communication, I think, is the takeaway there between the brand and whoever is doing the marketing piece and component of things. It's internal if you can. Having someone who is going to focus on that, put their time into it, understand everything about your business is, I'm a huge proponent of that. And for any business, it's, if you can have someone in-house cares about your brand, who is only loyal to the brand, then that's a recipe for success if they've got the correct skill set and drive to do it.
Yeah, I agree, but it really depends on the budget that you have. I
It
feel like
does.
it should make sense to hire someone, because if you bring someone for a low budget, he will be bored and and he will probably leave after a while because he feel that he's not fulfilling his destiny or something like that. Yeah, communication. This is the top thing. You need to focus on asking how the person is. Like, you asked me a few times when we had issues here in Israel, and like feeling that, yeah, we are here to work, but we are still like, even though we never met in person because we live thousands of kilometers or miles, depending where you are away, but talking to each other and, like, of course, being professional, but still being friendly and not like use like, I don't want, for me, every time I work with a service provider, I try to make him understand that I trust him on one hand, but I have expectations. And the way to do it is to feel that there's a balance between, like, letting someone do his professional work, but also making sure that he's still aligned with what we're doing. Because if you are not part of, like, in-house team, then it will be very hard to know all the ins and outs of the business. So again, I completely agree. The communication between the freelancer or the service provider and the actual team inside of the company, this is the most important thing. I think in every aspect of our lives, even in relationships, with family and your friends. So it's the same thing, basically.
Yeah, if people like you, they're definitely more likely to go out of their way to try and kind of go that extra mile. I think is a strong strong point. And if you take time to show consideration for them and to ask about their day and just be connect with them on a human level, I definitely I wholeheartedly agree with that. I know the clients with whom I engage the most, I generally find myself spending more and more time on, and it's back to the communication. Is that the more you can kind of engage with the individual whom you are working with on this, the better they can be at their job, and the more they're going to want to be better at it.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say before, because I completely agree with you, but not all the service providers, especially in the world of paid media, are as nice and professional as you. To be honest, I had encounters with people that, yeah, I was nice, I was professional, but I talked with them and I felt that it got to a point where they felt too comfortable and they started like, I won't say ignore me, but like giving me answers that are not really clear. And I'm sure that in their head, yeah, no, we are good. We are in good relationships, so it's okay. But sometimes it's a big mistake. So yeah, be nice and be friendly, but also make sure that you remember that in the end there is a, like, we are friends with benefits. There are things that we need to work together and to see results. Because if not, as there are so many people that are, as I said before, think that they are professional and know what they're doing, but to be honest, it's the same, like one size fits all, and it becomes a mess. I will share it maybe in another episode, but yeah, it's a mess.
No, I totally agree with that. I hear what you're saying there, and it's unfortunately there's definitely a lot of people out there, and I think sometimes people get just overwhelmed with the amount of accounts they're handling or the amount of time they have to spend on anyone, and it's I think it's your mileage may vary, but just keeping that communication open and having some kind of way to continue to engage, whether it be a weekly stand up, whether it be a bi-weekly check-in or some kind of reporting to go through and to kind of keep things on track, I think is definitely very important.
Yes, that's a great way to, I think, to end this episode, because we filled it with a lot of information, a lot of interesting insights that do what we said here, what Will said here, basically. I'm sure that you will already see improvements in your campaigns and in your like success and it will, what you do here in the world of paid media will translate to other marketing campaigns that you do. So Will, thank you very much for saying yes. When I asked you, I wasn't sure if you would want it, but you just said, yeah, for sure. And I was very happy. If you want, before we end, to say like how people can reach out to you, of course, I will have the link below. But if someone wants to have a chat with you and maybe work together, how can they do it?
So you could reach out to info at nce at commerce.com. And I think you'll
Yeah.
put the link below. I hesitate to give my personal email, but honestly, I think it's
No
fine.
problem.
But feel free to reach out, and I will kind of my process. I generally look, see if it's a good fit, and get a call. I'm on the books, and generally offer a free audit. I look through nothing kind of. It's not a template audit per se.
Yeah,
Generally look pretty deep, give a few pages of just account specific insights, and happy to meet with anyone, provide any advice. And if you're interested,
great. So Will, thank you again for saying yes. We will see you in other episodes for sure. And if you have any questions about what we talked, so feel free to write it below, and I will make sure that we'll bring the answers. And thank you for watching another episode of Heads of Marketing. It was a lot of fun. I'm happy we did it. And we will talk tomorrow. We have some work to do together.
absolutely.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, take care. Bye.